Hello, hello, Saga friends. Happy Saga Thursday. Rodge here, aka the Wisco Horn Dog. We're doing it again. Your regular source for Saga, the miniatures game goodness. I'm not going to dabble too long here. We are picking up part 2 of our Spanish battleboard review, and I am joined by Monty from the TwinCitiesGamer Blog. And we are just going to pick up right where we left off. But okay, so Battle Chaos is up top there. Orders reaction. Interesting, says choose a warband for the first thing. Okay, and then take all fatigue tokens on that warband and redistribute them between the warband's units with no more than 2 fatigue per unit. Discard any fatigue that could not be placed. So... okay, so you could use this on yourself or the enemy? Is that what I'm reading here?
Yes, it is. And that's why sometimes it's not a bad idea to have like a couple four-man warrior units as like fatigue drops. You can use them both as like fatigue bombs or just cycle your fatigue back to those units that aren't very powerful. It also, if you get in a really messy game, like in my game against Adam, he was running Naphaton, and Naphaton and ponies is a disaster, right? So he was just fatiguing my army up. I played Battle Chaos, I did the count, and I had more than 2 fatigue per unit, so I was like, oh, lift it up, you know what I mean? Throw it away. So not, it's an option, but the best option to me is drop the 2 or 3 fatigues with exhausting fight and desperate tactics, and even if you don't get the unit that you really wanted to hit, like he's hiding his Hearthguard or his Death Star or whatever, then during his turn you play Battle Chaos, you reach across the table, you take all the fatigue in his warband, and you can put 2 here and 2 there on the Warlord, and then he can rest 1 off, but he won't be able to rest 2 off, and you'll be able to play stunned and shut down his best and most important unit.
Wow, yeah, okay. Yeah, with this Battle Chaos, it's going to be really tough to avoid that. You really almost can't do anything about it. I mean, you're going to have to get the fatigues on there in the first place, but you got the tools to make it happen. Wow, yeah, you got to be really careful about accumulating fatigue. So I could see, where this is going to be tough for the foot sloggers because you're going to have to do multiple activations to make anything happen. So in addition to everything else, you're giving yourself fatigue that's going to be used against you in the worst way possible.
That's right.
Which, just spreading it back to the Hearthguard. Ugh.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, I hope you didn't miss that eight-man pack of Hearthguard because they're not moving. They're just going to sit back there in the back and be stunned each turn. Yeah.
So the dual nature of this is pretty cool. How often do you use this on yourself versus the enemy? Is it primarily for the enemy?
Yeah, it's mostly the enemy. Every once in a while, like, if I've kind of messed up and like in the one case with the Naphaton where I'm just like, it's a disaster of fatigue, that's a kind of a cheat, a cheap way to like burn some of it off. And if like some of my key units have really been bloodied and I really need them to make a big hit, then I might play Battle Chaos to like clean up my unit. So that's actually a good play too. If you punch in with like your 8-pack of Hearthguard and now it's sitting there with a fatigue, you could like in their turn then say, oh, you thought you had like an easy target? Okay, take off that fatigue and they're looking good.
Looking fresh. Okay. So this line at the bottom, discard any fatigue that could not be placed. So I think the only way that would come into play is if you had 2 fatigue or more on every single unit.
Exactly.
Okay, so...
and believe it or not, I've been in that jam before. That fire is bad. The horses just don't like it.
Oh, wow. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I bet that adds up. So could be a little bit of a soft reset from 3 or 4 fatigue down to 2 if you want to unexhaust your warriors, perhaps. But... probably not going to happen too often, but maybe, I don't know, it's one uncommon die, and if you're down to 3 or 4 units at the end, after all those combats, it might very well come into play, but okay. Well, moving down to Reconquista, so this is the, besides the Caballeros, this is the first time we're seeing the rare die as a Saga ability. Okay, so I'm hoping this is good because you're not going to be using it for anything else, it seems. But
oh, it's good.
Okay, why don't you lay it down?
Sure. So Reconquista is your order reaction. Choose an opponent. For each Saga die above 5 that the opponent currently has on his battle board, designate one non-warlord enemy unit in his warband. This unit may not be activated this turn. So a couple thoughts, like, when you play people who haven't played the Spanish before, you play this, they're not really paying attention. I have had people like roll into 8 dice on their Saga board. I'm like, really? Okay. And then I play Reconquista, and I just pick like 1, 2, 3. And the person I was playing, that was their front 3 units, and their first turn went down the drain. They moved nothing. Very frustrated, very unhappy. So it only takes once, right? They get burned once, and then they're like, I'm not going to do that again. So the counter to Reconquista is that your opponent looks at your board, says, okay, I see what's coming. I'm gonna roll however many I got. I'm going to pick the good ones. I'm going to place 5. But here's the neat trick, Rodge. So I have Reconquista up with a flag, and when my opponent reacts and plays 5, I don't have to spend the flag. I can leave it there, and it'll be in effect for the next turn and the next turn until finally your opponent's like, okay, I can either play out the game with 5 dice every turn with your flag sitting there, or maybe I'll play 6, and then maybe he picks one and shuts it down. So it's really powerful.
Yeah, that's huge. They can kind of play against it. You're probably going to have one uncommon die just sitting off to the side from the 6, but a lot of boards, they want all 8 of those things stacked up there.
Yes.
And so this is the 4th ability that can shut down a unit for the entire turn. And wow, it's good. Yeah, I could definitely see you just leaving it on there. Because even they're going to have a turn where they're going to want to load up all your combat dice and stuff like that. But then you're just going to pick that one unit that is basically going to be the benefit of all those dice. So tricky. Yeah, you really playing these Spaniards, you got to think outside your normal game plan here. Wow. Between
that's right.
All these shutdowns and this Reconquista here. Okay. Well, I'm liking that one. Let's go down to the other rare. This one's comboed with a common. So this is 3 abilities that take 2 dice, which is kind of interesting. It's probably on the heavy end. Usually maybe 1 or 2 you might see. But this is an order's reaction, like we mentioned, the last one here. And a chosen opponent player must discard as much Saga dice from his battle board as his warlord generated at the start of the turn. So, okay. So most warlords generate 2. So basically, a chosen must discard. Okay. So the key thing is here, they're going to have allocated their Saga dice to their board. And then right before they're going to start, you're like, hold on. I'd like to play Broken Command. And so they're going to peel 2 Saga dice off their board. So yeah, that could be pretty good. I'm just thinking about Reconquista. Does this really combo with that at all? Could you use Reconquista first and then Broken Command, or
you can?
Yeah, how's the order of all that?
So let me think about this for a second. Yeah, I would play Reconquista first because that's the 5 cap, or maybe even they've just looked at Reconquista, so they start at 5, and Broken Command would take them down to 3. Yeah, right. But let's keep it in perspective, right? I mean, that is a wicked play, but it's 2 flags and a common. And I will say this about Broken Command, just me, right? Because everyone plays a little different. If I throw 1 flag, I put it on Reconquista. I look
Okay.
at Broken Command. I've got like a common and I got a rare, and I could put that rare in the activation and pick up 2 dice. So in a way, I feel like I'm kind of spinning the potential of having 3 dice to steal 2 dice off his board. I like my investment on Reconquista, but if I throw a wicked a hand of like Flag City, then maybe it's time to dial up the Reconquista and Broken Command.
Yeah, that's good. If you get those flags, you're really going to be shutting stuff down.
Going to be a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, you're going to have to, basically, they're just going to use their dice to move stuff, pretty much. If you're using warriors, obviously, they still might kill them, but you got Hearthguard, your warlord sitting out there. The potential to not do very much is definitely there.
Exactly.
If you can combine against this other stuff, you could really have a kind of almost like a null turn where you do nothing and just load up. I guess that's kind of maybe the trap or maybe the strength of the board, but you still need to do stuff typically for a scenario. So I think finding the right defensive plays, but still having a couple activations of your own to actually do stuff, because you could, I don't know, there's so much here to shut everything down. I could just load everything up. Do you have turns like that, or?
So I do. I mean, so let me pitch this at you though.
Yeah.
And it's taken a lot of practice. Like what you just said, like the Spanish board has so many opportunities that you're like, it's kind of dice hungry. It's like it wants to do all these things, and you're looking around, you're like, okay, still need to move a couple guys. So how do you manage that? So here's something that I think I've done, and some other Spanish players have done. There are a couple dogs of war that you can grab up, and Bedouin Scouts is one you should look at, and Foreign Mercenaries is another, and both of those activate with no saga dice. So they're giving you the unit and a punch, and one is like, the Foreign Mercenaries is really about like having a steamroller, a wall that's super tough, and the Bedouins is a whole different angle of like annoyingness, because they activate as many times as you want with no dice to exhaustion. So here you are, like your Bedouins let you run around and juke and shoot and run back, and then next turn with no dice, the first turn you just rest, take that fatigue off, run out, shoot, run back, pick up another fatigue, and rinse and repeat, and you use no dice for that. So it's to me it fits perfectly with the Spanish. Then you've got your 2 points of Hearthguard in one unit, that's your fist, kind of waiting to degrade the army, get them frustrated and make a mistake, and you've got your 12-man warrior unit, like zipping up with Iberia, shoot, pull back. If the timing is right and you have the dice, maybe you get up their light horse, run across the field, shoot, and then pull back again. And eventually you either get to the top of turn 6 and your opponent says no moss, or maybe you've just worn them down and now you're ready to deal out the Hearthguard and smash them. So yeah, these plays are great, and so I like to try to you got to be very judicious in your movement of units, because all of these things are, to make them go, you gotta put them down in your activations, and that means you got to use your Warlord's Determination and We Obey, and maybe use a mercenary unit, and maybe use one or two dice and up in the activation. But then always when the first uncommon I do park it in Iberia, because it's just too good. When it's up there, your opponent goes to make their play, and they have to look at you and think, okay, any one of those mounted units can move. So it makes them, be under a little bit of pressure and a little stressed as they unwind their turn.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. So, do you win a lot of games? How do these guys work out for you?
So it's funny you say that,
because
I've gone through phases. No, sorry, go ahead.
Well, when our game at Adepticon, I was like, oh, these guys are amazing. But then you were talking, the troops aren't so good, and you were kind of it seemed like you were kind of down on them.
Well, we were having kind of a long day. That was, we actually, John and I, we had a great on paper combination. Our practice games were fabulous, and then the reality was, I don't know, the wheels came off, and we were kind of like, we had the game, we were kind of had it, and then it's like somehow between the two of us we lost track of the actual victory conditions, and there you go. So no, they're good. My thing is this: in the beginning, there is a learning curve, and then you'll get that on your belt, and then you got to be careful when you start really tooling up, and you're juking and running away and winning against your opponents. At some point, they might also say no mas to playing your Spanish. So you have to be kind of careful with that, right? So yes, they have a lot of potential. I had them queued up and painted and ready for the whole Adepticon singles, right? But in my practice games, I was kind of going through a rough spell, and then I was thinking, it's called the Grand Melee, not the Grand Runaway. And so if you do badly, right? So I thought if you do badly in your win-loss as you're going, I thought, I could maybe chase Slaughter King. And so I reached into my bag of warbands and I pulled the Matata Wea because they could just straight up kill stuff. So I think I overthought it. Rodge. I think I overthought it. I put them in the back shelf, and I don't know. Maybe next year.
Okay. Yeah, we do mention some good points. In certain scenarios, Sacred Ground potentially. I mean, you don't want your guys on there vulnerable, but you do have ways to shut down the enemy and prevent them from getting in there. So I think that one's kind of a double-edged. But then there is that Adepticon favorite, I can't think of the name right now, but only kills in melee count for points.
Yes.
But
that's a tough one for them.
Yeah, but you've really got just those two shooting abilities. The light horse is the only one that really makes you better. Do you kill more stuff in melee or shooting, would you say?
Shooting is really streaky. I'll have games like against John where, he couldn't make a save, and then I'll have other games like where they make a lot of their saves. So then, those can be the tough ones. Like if they're making all their saves, it could be a long day.
Making them fours, baby.
That's it. And there's also this thing that like certain warbands, this is a really good warband, but like your opponents, like if they play them enough, they start getting some of the counters like to this and the game within the game, and they can kind of flatten out some of the sweet spots. And so that happens too. But I'll also say the flip side of that coin is because so much of this board Iberian stuff is anticipation and figuring out what your opponent is going to do next. And if you can kind of spot it as they're moving, then they're really powerful. And and so some of my friends, because I have played them a lot, I'm like, I know what he's going to do next, and here we go. And so that you can have a little fun with that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think if you're playing against them, just with all the abilities to shut your stuff down, the way you're coming at them, the way you're going to get them is actually like a multi-turn plan. Like you're not going to get it in one. So you actually kind of need to formulate your plan back on turn 2 to be able to actually do some stuff on turn 4. It seems like start hemming them in, or because if you start every turn fresh, trying to, with this turn, what am I going to do? I think that's almost maybe what you want, where you just, look at this tempting target I left you. Don't you want to go after this unit right here? So
I love it. Yep. And they do have a little time with the shooting warbands. If you're going with the mounted builds, which is what this is really all about, if the enemy is like Normans with their long range bow, that's pretty wicked. They'll struggle with 12-inch bow range. The Irish can give them a little bit of fits because they're the Hearthguard will be hit on 4s and the Warriors hit on 3s. So those are a little bit of a knife fight.
Those two kind of give you the most heartburn.
I guess the Bretons probably would fit in there. They could go javelin each other to death. I got to try that someday. I'll go test them against John's.
Yeah, that would be an epic stick slinging affair. Okay. Yeah, you did touch on your list, Bill, but can you go through that again?
Sure. So this is just me, right? And I love this about Saga. I have ideas, and then people are like, that's a stupid idea. I have a better idea, right? And so you see that at tournaments. But what I really like I don't run Levy. Levy are going to be expensive to run. They have their pluses and minuses, but I just love all these abilities that are for the mounted. So I like to do 2 points of mounted Hearthguard. in 1 unit of 8 for the punch, hold them back a little bit. I like to have my 12-man unit of warriors. It's big and weedy, and because it kind of sprawls out, sometimes it can be a little tricky to maneuver it, but just line them up right, line your dice up right, and when they go in, you're going to get the maximum 6 shooting dice, so that's the bonus on that one, and just make sure you pull them back unless you're ready to lose them. So that's and then I like to have like another 12, so to get to 3 points of warriors, I would give you a 12-pack, and then the other one could be like an 8 and a 4, or a 4-4-4, or 6 and a 6. With the 4s, I like to use that little fatigue bomb trick to kind of get the shutdown going early in the game. And then the last point, I really love the Bedouin Scouts. I think, I looked right at them for so long, and I'm like, what are these? I'm not going to do this. And then one day, I ran them, and it was it starts you start playing them, you're like, seriously? I get to move them as many times as I want with no dice. No, you don't want to run out and first turn, exhaust them and have them eaten up. But the ability to before the game even starts, they get to make a pregame move of 6 inches. They also get to move through terrain at 6 inches always. So the ideal play for your Bedouin Scouts is to play near a piece of terrain, because you can zip through it, shoot, pull back, get your fatigue, next turn with no dice, rest it off, run up, shoot, pull back into the safety of the uneven ground, and just annoy the hell out of your opponent. And then even better, if you're playing second, which is what I always aim for, then at the very last turn, you could just take them and just shoot until they're exhausted. And there's, and I've done that. I've actually nipped a game by shooting a unit of Hearthguard 4 times, and it's oh, that's the points, game. Thanks for playing.
Wow, awesome. Yeah. That does sound fun. Overall, you sounds like you have fun playing these guys.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. They are. They're a blast. Actually, now I'm going to regret that I sold them off again. Darn it.
You're going to have to pick them up for the third time, man.
But I think my buddies have seen enough of them. I try to, you want to stay friends. You want to have them come out for games. So at a certain point, you might have to put them away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely, it seems like the games are going to be pretty cerebral. But then anything that stops you from doing stuff, people generally aren't too thrilled about. Yeah, you can do as much stuff as you want, but then when you're stopping my game, and people tend to get ornery. But yeah, overall, it looks pretty fun. I'd love to try my hand against it, and if you do get them that third time, we'll have to get a game in.
That's it.
Yeah.
And a quick tip, because I know people hate painting horses, so they take forever. This last band, I use something called the oil wipe method, and I won't go into it because you can Google it and find it. Fast, great shading. It's a nice cheat to get those ponies moving along, and get a warband on the table. And I'll also say, if you really hate painting ponies, then maybe when you pick up your 3 points of warriors, you only have to do 12 mounted. That's your shooty guys. You could do 12 foot, grab them from some other warband, and then with your 8 Hearthguard, you're only painting 20 horses. So if you want to do Spanish, 20 horses and you're in.
Okay, good, good deal. Just 20 horses. That's it.
That's it.
That's all you need to really get the mojo flowing. So, okay, cool. Thanks. This has been fun.
This has been fun.
Trying to figure out. I do want to get a Crescent and Cross warband of some kind, and I do want them, to be mounted. I'm going to bite the bullet and do a mounted Saga warband. I think Crescent and Cross, one of those factions, is going to be it. So Spanish seems pretty fun. I like making people cry, stopping them from doing stuff. Maximize my own fun. So that's what I'm all about. But
that's the spirit.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks for doing this. This was a blast.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah, I love the blog. I love your hobby output. You're a damn animal when it comes to painting these figs, and I think that rubs off on people when they read about it. I'll have a link in the description here for folks who don't know. But it's a good time. You're a great modeler, great guy. Good.
Thanks, man.
Good chatting with you, and I'm sure we'll find some other reason to get you back on here. Does that sound good?
That's it. That would be fabulous. And I think with luck, maybe we'll see you at Saga Storm and we can throw down.
Sadly, Saga Storm, I'm not going to be able to make that one. I actually have a wedding that day.
Oh, well.
But I'm signed up for Renegade Open. Are you?
Oh, yes, I am.
Okay.
So I'll see you there.
Yeah, I will definitely see you at Renegade Open, if not working something out beforehand. But yeah, we will.
Okay.
We'll throw down. Sounds good.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, I'll chat with you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, done and dusted, as I've heard some UK fellas say from time to time. That is it for the Spanish. And big thanks to Monty. As always, can't do these without people stepping up to help out. And that is awesome that he took the time to school me on these Spanish. These they sound really cool. Definitely one of the contenders for a mounted warband for me. I think Crescent and Cross, as I mentioned, is going to be that mounted warband for me. And I'm gonna figure that out. If you have anything you'd like to add to the discussion, please post below. If there's anything we got wrong, especially, don't like when that happens. But need you folks posting, double checking, critiquing our work here. So if you did notice anything, no matter how small, please post below so nobody else will follow our bad example. And I think that is going to be it for this week. Please share with a friend if they're interested in the Spanish for sure. Like and favorite this shit. Thank you if you've already done that. And I'm loving these battleboard reviews. We're going to keep on doing them. But that's enough for this week. I'll catch you guys on the flip side.
Saga!